You ever heard of Russia? Pretty important country. It's the largest country on Earth, actually, and it spans 2 oceans and has some very, very famous history to it. One of the oldest civilizations with some of the oldest cities. Moscow is one of them. But St. Petersburg is actually older than Moscow. It's one of the most famous and important cities on Earth, one of the oldest cities across Europe. It is a city known for its beauty, its museums, its art, and its infrastructure is world-renowned. Obviously, the palaces of the czars and kings throughout the histories of Russia, every one of them making the city more beautiful. And many people say that it is prettier than Paris, in fact. And, well, or at least it used to be, ladies and gentlemen, because today this is what St. Petersburg looks like. You can see some of the famous St. Petersburg architecture, untouched by time, but now the Ukraine war has been the first major threat to St. Petersburg since World War II, as St. Petersburg is completely and totally trapped in a black cloud of death this morning after massive drone attacks from Ukraine. Let's just note something, that Ukraine is really far away from St. Petersburg. We were saying that it was very impressive that Ukraine, which is right down here, was able to launch drones into Moscow. Well, St. Petersburg is approximately twice as far from Kyiv. Not exactly sure where the drones are being launched from, but they'd have to be Ukrainian territory. And this is really bad. So what happened this morning? Talk about bringing the conflict home. After massive attacks last night, St. Petersburg is now covered in a thick cloud of smoke. Drone strikes warehouse. This is the Wildberries warehouse. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Amazon of Russia. These warehouses, Ukraine has learned, are incredibly flammable. Ukraine says that these warehouses serve as a dual use for the Russian military in order to run logistics for their armed forces to the front lines of Ukraine, which again is very far away from the central economic hubs of Russia. And of course, we all know that wars are not won with firepower, they are won with logistics. So can you supply your front lines down here? These are the kind of things that break Hitler, right? These are the kind of things that break every army throughout all time. It's the kind of things that break the American army in the jungles of Vietnam. Your logistics. Can you supply your front lines? Can you get your men fed and housed and provided for and armed on the front lines without them dying first before you even get there? And the average lifespan for a Russian soldier on the front lines of Ukraine is approximately 90 minutes, given the fact that Ukraine has gone full in, with no doubt the help of our CIA, on unmanned technology. And now they are using that unmanned technology to strike deep in the heart of Russia. You see here Zelensky posting, Ukraine's forces struck one of the key military enterprises in Russia, supply components for the occupiers' aircrafts, missile systems, which are used in particular to the massive attacks against the cities and communities. The warriors of precision, the response is entirely justified. Long-range sanctions hit an oil facility nearly 1,300 kilometers away. Importantly, the operation against Russian logistics, which supplied the occupying army with drone components, navigation equipment, and military gear, remains underway. It is remarkable how Ukraine is able to strike thousands of miles into Russian territory without being harassed. Again, these are some of the oldest cities on Earth, some of the most developed cities on Earth. They're certainly first world cities. St. Petersburg is a first world city. And the devastation is utterly remarkable. A scale of fire at the Wildberries warehouse in St. Petersburg, a bird's eye view. Let's go ahead and look here. Look at that. Atomic bomb. Yeah. Also the precision to just be able to strike the building. You don't see stuff like this in Iran because, well, they've turned off the internet, but also because, we're striking sand effectively, you're striking dirt, right? You're trying to hit things up and underneath mountainsides, and you can't really see large fires or explosions. But this is the first time we've been able to see the drones actually strike these facilities. Check it out. Wow. So they just take these drones. So these drones, they just suicide bomb. They just suicide bomb these logistic warehouses. And all these little fires create so many blazes. And it is incredible to me that the Russians have not figured out a way to prevent all of this. I'm not really cheering for one side or the other here. What I'm saying is that, like, you can't complain. Russia did absolutely start this war and has been gobbling up. Whoa. Like, Russia's been doing this to Ukraine for a long time, so you can't, like, complain when it happens. I don't want it to happen to anyone. I don't want it to happen to Ukrainians. I don't want it to happen to Russia. I don't see why everyone couldn't just, like, chill out. I want the same thing to happen in Iran, to be perfectly honest with you. You know, I don't want, you know, look at this. Look at the absolute devastation this is going to cause. Yo, it's crazy. So that's how they do it. They just fly drone after drone after drone after drone until the thing just ignites, and there's too many fires, and the blazes are just too big and too hot. And of course, I do believe, of course, like why they're burning like this. And I think an Amazon warehouse would frankly burn like this, but they say that there's munitions and drones, batteries, bombs, and things like that that are used for the war. I have no doubt. The Kremlin is introduced to a complete ban on publishing. The Kremlin has introduced a complete ban on publishing videos and consequences of the Ukraine strikes. Since early morning, federal official Kremlin media have not published a single video of the burning Wildberries warehouses. This is Amazon, you know, of Russia, in St. Petersburg. Same thing happened during the previous attacks on the warehouse refineries. Kremlin media only report new strikes against Ukraine and Russia's endless economic growth and victories on the front line. Unofficial pro-Kremlin media merely mentioned smoke in the sky. Oof. So, yeah. Look at that. Dude. This is the largest warehouse. It has been completely destroyed. Wow. These are illegal images. Crazy images. Putin's hometown of St. Petersburg is post-apocalyptic this morning after Ukraine drones hit a fuel storage tank, one of the main remaining Wildberries warehouses, Russia's equivalent of Amazon. And they're helpless to stop it. Look at the, you know, historically beautiful, famous St. Petersburg. To have the smoke like this. Nobody's seen anything like this. They didn't see stuff like this during World War II. Look at that. Yo. See the nuclear reactor right there in the foreground. Goodness. Whew. Gracious. Goodness gracious. Multiple black smoke.
Вы это видите? Это просто пиздец. Я ночью спала, я ничего не слышала. У меня обычно крепкий сон. Когда я проснулась утром, я увидела вот это. Меня до сих пор трясет. Мне кажется, это склад Wildberries горит в Санкт-Петербурге.
Dude. Listen, man, I hate that it goes this way. But unfortunately, the reality of modern warfare is that eventually you F around long enough and you're going to find out. Russia has been fighting this war in Ukraine for 5 years. They've not proposed any peace. They have not said yes to any peace agreements that have been brought to them, like the Anchorage agreements that Trump tried to figure out. Trump did this in good faith. He met with Putin in Alaska. They had a very long meeting in Alaska. It took the president the entire day to get there, and then nothing changed. Nothing happened. Nobody did anything. Nothing. And it's very irritating. This kind of stuff is like horrific for civilian populations, for everyone involved. It doesn't get anything for anyone. Russia's getting nothing out of this. Ukraine's getting nothing out of this. Nobody's getting anything out of this. America spent billions and billions of dollars for what? For nothing. So cut it out already. I do not understand the suicidality of global leaders in situations like this. And I don't think the people do either. I think 90% of the people on earth, I don't hate Russian people at all. I don't hate Ukrainian people at all. I don't hate Jewish people or Iranian people at all. I think the leaders are suicidal. I think the leaders are like bloodthirsty demons. And the vast majority of the people just want to live in peace and like go make a buck and enjoy the time with their families. I know that's exactly what I want to do. That's what everybody I know wants to do. So enough, you know. I think people are saying enough. Ooh, it looks bad though. Looks bad. What do you think is going to happen next? Let me know in the comments.